Welcome back, everyone. We are 22S Radio, the next wave of K-Beach. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM, KKJZ, HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back, everyone, on Talk with Spencer program. I am your host, Spencer Klein, back at again with another great interview with a good high school friend of mine. I'm going to turn to him right now. Zach, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
It has been, when was the last time I saw you?
Housewarming party in San Diego.
That is right.
Yes.
That is right.
Yes.
Yeah, that was an interesting day.
It was fun.
In the least. That was really a fun time.
Yeah, we had good conversations.
Yeah, that was good times. So, let's just get right into it, okay? Shall we? So, the way we met was through a similar, as with most of my friends I have now, through band in high school. I want to ask you first, was that your first experience with music? Or could you take me back to the very first experience you had with music?
The first thing I actually played was piano in first grade. I had lessons, but I recall just not having big enough fingers to do the proper motions, and so I got frustrated and quit that.
Mm-hmm.
And then in third grade, I played the guitar at church. And so they had small groups on Wednesdays, but they also taught lessons as well. So one of those years was guitar. So I learned that, but we went to Arizona one summer, and I left my guitar in the case in my house, and then we came back from the trip, and the guitar neck glue had melted, and so the neck and the body were disconnected, and so that was the end of my guitar.
So I was into
career.
that.
Yeah,
I think it was that.
Definitely. And then I think in fifth grade they let you play instruments in elementary school, so that's when I did that.
And you played the alto saxophone, and then eventually switched over to tenor.
Yeah, immediately after in sixth grade, switched to tenor, and then played that through.
So when you said you played at church, was that was it one of those things where it was you volunteered based, or was it one of those mandatory?
No, I volunteered.
You're part of the church, you have to play for the band.
No, I volunteered for sure.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
Would you ever go back into it?
Playing the guitar, or I have one at home, so yeah, I play it every now and again for sure.
Okay, yeah. So, take us through how. Because the only means I know you in the musical sense, other than what you've done post high school, is through your achievements in high school. So tell us what the dynamic was, and I know partially the answer to this question, but just for the audience at home, tell us what it was like to be a band student at Etiwanda High School.
For me,
give us all the deets, anything you can.
Yeah, it was pretty intense, mainly because Mr. Hackworth. I don't know, there was just clicks that were made right off the bat, as soon as I entered, and then just definitely pressure to be great or to be somebody else, a lot of comparisons and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so just back then, I hadn't put in honestly the time to be great at my instrument, and so I was nervous all the time, going up there, and I eventually got into a groove and got away, broke out of the nervousness thing, but definitely it was a dog-eat-dog world at one point until we kind of were on top.
Until we were on top.
Yeah.
And it just became
chill. It became chill. I don't know, we were competitive, but it wasn't a personal thing. It kind of felt personal, or I don't know, something before, but yeah.
Do you ever want to go back to that, maybe not high school itself, but that being in a band. Being in that.
No, honestly, I would redo life.
I would go back in general for sure. Yeah.
But after high school, I played in small combos at UC Santa Cruz, and that was really fun. There was actually a drummer who played when Matt Ray played the top of the hi hat, not the actual simple part, but the middle part. He actually did that to actually use other sounds and get other sounds out of the drums, and it was really fun jamming with him. And there was a guitar player named Nelson. I forget his last name. I wish I knew it right now. But he's just so nice on the guitar. He's just so sick. And so that experience was really fun. And so I experienced restrictive kind of or competitive band group, and then I also experienced a free willing creative open space, so it was really cool once I went to college and did that.
Which one would you rather prefer if you had to pick one or the other? The unit type
I mean, I don't know if like when I was younger, I don't know if I would have tried as hard if it wasn't like a competitive, like if it was just like a, you know, like a free form kind of creative open space. But at the same time, like you do want to be great in that space, or I did. I wanted to be just as good as the other players and have just as good solos and stuff like that. So in both cases, so I don't know if that's a personal thing or just.
So are there other attributes that you said you've taken in from that era? From the high school area?
Yeah.
Can you name some?
Just having drive. Like you had to have drive. You had to want to be first chair. You had to, and so like you had to put in the hours, whatever that looked like to you. And then I honestly fell in love with music when I started listening to jazz, and it's kind of weird, but like I remember like going to my parents and like showing them artists, like, listen to this, like it's crazy, and like I think that like helps with the music that I make now. And so like I just became an active listener to music, because like it's a different thing to like listen to like rap music and just listen to the bars or just listen to the production, or some people don't even really do those things. And so it gave me an ear for that, most definitely.
You became less of a passive, just listening to the music, just listening to music, but
some
details, more detail, like you know, type of thing.
And then also being able to remember it and like recall it, because like we sing jazz lines to each other just to be we were weird people in high school. Exactly. So like but doing that now, like I can recall so many like rap lyrics and stuff like that, and like I recall like I watched some of your other podcasts, and so like you talked about how many things like just like art or like being a musician has taught you. Like some people don't think you can like multitask, but like I feel like because like you read music and play and you're thinking at the time, and like all this stuff is going on in your head at one time, like I feel like it opened your mind.
Oh, definitely. Just naturally. Naturally. I remember fucking Hackworth told me back in the day, like that music it's like 5 arts in one. Do you remember when he said this?
I don't recall.
So like basically music it's science, because you learn about pitch, tone, basically the physics of sound, as we've gone through before. It's language. It's a totally different language.
Yeah.
Art. Need I say more? Mathematics. For if you don't know to read music, there's a lot of mathematical notation needed in order to read music and to play it as well. So that alone, I believe, is beneficial, just as if someone wanted to learn a second language.
Right.
It works the same parts of the mind.
Yeah, and knowing a different language, I hear like they have different, because there are different definitions of words. They're just different words in different languages. That it expands your view of the world. So like, I think in German, like there are specific words for like your first love and stuff like that. And so we don't have things like that in our language. So
so it's like there's no English to German translation for that?
That word exactly.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. And it's kind of like how there's some emotions that cannot, like I get this a lot with Frank Ocean, but like you ever hear something and you just can't put it into words.
Yeah.
It's just that.
But you could not possibly put it, you can't put it in English words.
Maybe it's something else, but you can't put it in my first language.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so jazz, that was a school of thought, school of music. I mean, I grew up in too.
Yeah.
But how'd you go from that to EDM? Because you're an EDM DJ, producer as well,
I tell people I like good music.
What does that mean to you?
Just music that makes you want to feel it again. Like if you like the feeling it gave you, whether it made you cry, whether it made you groove, whether it was a sad story, it surprised you, whatever the case was. If you want to hear that again, then it's good. Like to me, and like it's subjective, like it's art, and so, there was just jazz songs that I can recall, just like wanting to hear again.
Can you name a few? Just that you started off with.
Dang, there's this Sonny Rollins. Dang, I can't recall the name of the song right now. Shoot, but Red Clay was really fun. I love Red Clay's a slap. For sure. I loved Pat Metheny's is it First
Circle?
First Circle was cool. First Circle was like just a different vibe. Like that was a really cool song.
I remember first hearing that song and thinking, "This is jazz." Like this is still jazz,
Right.
and yeah, it's still jazz.
Samantha by
Sammy Nestico.
Sammy Nestico. That song is like, wow.
That song it's like liquid sex. It's just like that's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah,
Like
I
if someone
understand.
told you, "Hey, describe this song," liquid sex. Like that's what it is.
Yeah. But I think jazz has a sector in hip hop as well. Like they're like very like a lot of artists influenced in jazz. And then I was watching the evolution of hip hop, and there are even groups that like scattered and rapped, and I was like, that's crazy. Like I never would have thought that like that was an actual like accepted thing, and people like actually like got behind that. Like that's so cool. Yeah.
So you're the first person that's ever had like a foot in. I don't know. A foot in two camps, that being the jazz world, hip hop, traditionally black music, and then EDM, which, well, if you want to go to the origin, it's black as well. But let's face it, like now most people listen to EDM are not black.
Yeah.
So how would you convince, like, let's say you're at a Black Student Union event, and your job is to convince everyone in that room to start listening to EDM. How would you do it? What would be the means? You could show them music. What would be the means you would use to get them into that world?
So I listen to a lot of music, so like I would want to know what music you listen to first and what genres like you enjoy, and then from there I would go into my catalog of music of different genres that might work for you. And so like if some people like really hard like boom bap kind of stuff, I might go with Halftime or some dubstep or definitely bass music for sure. And then surprisingly, like because of the relationship that disco music had in like the disco music in hip hop and disco music in house, since there's a relationship there, some people that like hip hop also really enjoy house music, which is kind of like weird.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Like if you go back to your parents, back to your parents like 70s music and stuff like that. Like it's very groovy, and like 80s music is really groovy as well. And so like there's similar sounds and sonics, and then grooves there and bass lines and stuff like that. And so there's like a parallel there. And then if someone is like really likes softer music, really likes to chill out, like there's future bass, and so. And then chill step and stuff like that. Like there's
ambient, stuff like that. Yeah.
And there's just so many genres that like if you get to know a person's taste, I believe that you could find music in other genres that like gives you the same feeling that those other genres have.
Could I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
You've been to a rave before, right?
Definitely.
Like multiple times?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think that's my problem. Like, it's just like, okay, because everyone knows I interview like hip hop artists and rap artists and everything in between, but the second most like demanded genre is EDM.
Yeah.
And just for me personally, I just can't find the means of getting like into that sound. It doesn't enjoy it for me. And I think, and I'm not bashing anyone's work or anything, but I fail to find the artistic element in electronic dance music.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not dissing anyone or anything.
Like to say that like is to discount so many artists that like just aren't mainstream, but like are like touring themselves and like we can say getting their bag and like just living a good life, but like they're not Diplo, it's not Skrillex, like it's none of those guys. It's Marshmello, like no, but like they're still able to like have a good time, like have their own record labels and be known by people that will like forever enjoy their music, but it just won't be on that grandiose level, or it's just not in the region, or it's just may not sonically, it's just maybe not what you like. Like there's this song called Chromium Decay by Yprom, and that song is just so cool. Like it's in 3 takes, so it's kind of 3 drops, but like he just says take one and the song starts, and it's 3 different vibes, and it's just insane. Like I was so surprised at how creative he was able to be in 3 minutes and how he did it. Like it's like watching like a movie. Like there's certain like stories you can tell over and over again in movie form. So you kind of watch the movie to see how it happens. And so like listening to music, like how he did that, how the 3 different drops, like how he built up, or there was just no build up. Like that was just a crazy experience, and I'd like want to listen to it again.
So there is an artistic appeal in EDM. You'd say so.
You'd have to be listening to it.
Yeah, I feel like I need to just look more, because there is a lot of electronic artists that I listen to. They're not like, well, the reason I haven't been to a rave because I don't see them on the set list, so I really don't have a point of going. Yeah. But yeah, like Cascade. Mm-hmm. You ever heard of Cascade? Yeah, Cascade's one of them.
Really good music.
He made some cool music.
Do you know who Millennium is?
I do.
Do you not like that sound?
I don't know. Oh, like I haven't listened.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, it's good.
I listen to everyone tells me, because when I ask the question, they're like, "Oh, listen to Porter Robinson." Like I just don't care.
You don't care to listen to, or you've listened and you don't care about it.
I listened to it and it's just like it's not bad. It's just okay. That just doesn't do anything. For
maybe
me.
you'll like Virtual Self, because Virtual Self makes I think it's techno music technically, but Virtual Self is really cool. It's the same person, but yeah, it's two different styles of music that he decided to make.
Oh, so it's like it's the other persona of Millennium.
No, Porter Robinson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like, in order to be able to do both things and not be judged about it, kind of. He was.
Oh, okay. So kind of like Sasha Fierce and yeah. Okay, I see. So we're about 20 minutes in. We got to take a quick break, and then we'll get back with the rest of the programming.
Sounds good.
Welcome back, everyone. We are 22S Radio, the next wave of K Beach. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM, KKJZ, HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back, everyone, on Talk West Pursuit program. I am here with old high school friend, Zach Costin. How you doing, Zach?
Great.
We were just talking about EDM and the aspects of it. Why are you smiling like that? You're just happy to be here. Yeah. I'm glad you're happy to be here, man. Just get the vibe of the room going.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so EDM. Let's get back on that topic. So with that being said, we were talking about before the break how there is an art form element to it. Do you think that it's more or less artistic than other genres, or could it be equally set in the same playing field as, per se, jazz or hip-hop or something?
There are just as many songs that are produced in hip-hop that are just loops as there are in EDM, I would say.
Really?
Yeah. Most definitely. And there are a lot of artists that take the time to be creative and not just loop something and like take stuff out, make it drop just a 16-bar loop, and we're just gonna rap whatever we are, and we're gonna take out the bass and have the hook or whatever the case is. I don't know, but I think there's just as much as that, and like some music is just fun, and that's okay, and like there's creativity within that as well. Like on fun songs, like honestly, like DaBaby, like is a really fun rapper. Like he's just really fun to listen to.
Yeah, everyone doesn't need to be Kendrick Lamar at the time, you know.
Yeah, most definitely.
Just giving woke vibes.
And like, yeah, we can talk about them both and like not compare them necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like they both make me like I is just as fun as Suge in my opinion. I like both of those songs.
Yeah.
Like,
So, well, like I mentioned before, we were talking about the lack of people of color in that industry. Does it ever make you feel like a certain type of way knowing that there are not a lot of black EDM producers out there?
I don't feel some type of way about it. Honestly, like if you're just like a musician in general, sometimes the black community will shun that as if like just playing music is soft.
That's very true.
And so there's a lot of perceptions like that, like black people have towards each other that we don't necessarily talk about on a grander scale.
Oh yeah, that's very true.
And so like that's kind of part of it. Like I had one of my managers come up to me and like I wear my marching band like shirt to work, and like he was like, "Oh, you were in the band? You went to Edwanda?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh, I was in the band." And then like I got a couple years in, like I was a sophomore in high school, and like they started like bugging about like me being in the band, so like I just quit and like just kept playing basketball.
Oh, they being like black people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we've all dealt in some way, shape, or form, with that discrimination.
That's a sad. Like that's sucks though. Like if he was passionate about it, and if like he loved that, then like he let somebody else's words have power over him and like change the course of his life. Maybe I don't know. So it's just it sucks. But I think there's a lot of that. So to say that like there's a lot of reasons why there are not black people doing it, but there are black DJs and stuff like that. So it's like
yeah. Do you? I feel like that's very that's a character building, not exercise, but experience. A little traumatizing nonetheless, but at the same time having people that look like you telling you that what you do isn't
correct,
correct or right for our kind. It is. It's kind of down-putting, but at the same time, once you get past that, there's an open world left to you.
Yeah, and it's kind of like fun to rebel a little bit.
Yeah, right.
Fun to tell somebody no. So
yeah.
It's like, I want to choose what I want to choose.
And it's like the greatest artists out there. They've all rebelled at some point. Someone told them don't do that, and it was already as an authority figure, whether it be institutionalized like through race, class, gender, orientation, or just maybe a parental figure or their peers
censoring the art. Put out
exactly.
There.
So I feel like essentially at the end, once you get past that, that's where you go to thrive.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I think like growing up black is like a whole building of duality. Like growing up black and like culture, and not when I don't mean like black culture. Like black culture is not the only culture. So like growing up black and like liking other things, like liking EDM or liking pop or liking anime. Anime, like in anime and different things. Being exposed to different cultures young is dope, but it takes a certain type of person, like you said, to be able to push past like my cousin telling me like, oh, you only hang out with Asian people, you watch that anime stuff and you go to that EDM concerts and stuff, and I don't understand why you like it. And it's like it's cool because you don't have to understand it, because I'm still black, I'm still from the hood, we still from the same place, and I still like what I like, and you fuse them together, and that's what makes people like you, is having that authenticity. It's like, so like when I hear you produce and you can hear all of the jazz undertones that you have in there, and like the grooviness of like he has some like classical training, like you could hear that in there, and then you can hear even like some elements you take from like EDM and fuse into it, and it's like I would have never thought to put those two together, but because you got that kind of outside perspective, it just works, and I think that's really dope. Like,
thank you, appreciate
so
that.
Just throw that in there.
Yeah, shout out to Zach. Yeah.
Shout out Zach.
But on like a broader subject, like that just shows you're the product of your environment. You know, like
most definitely. But I definitely took the time to listen to music, and like once I realized what active listening was, I was like, okay, let me like really listen to music. So like I went back and like listened to like the Roots albums and like listened to Wu-Tang, and like I just really wanted to be like a child of music, like and so I was intentional about listening to even like DJ Khaled or Tyler the Creator, like Kanye West, and like just really understanding like what made people move. The Neptunes, Timbaland. Like I can keep going, but
like there's an interview with Tyler the Creator when Flower Boy just came out, the Flower Boy interview with Jerry Carmichael. He was talking about how he wanted one of his songs to play in the club,
right?
And what he did is he would walk into a nightclub. He hates nightclubs, and just sit in the corner and just watch people and just see the reaction to stuff. And then one of the songs from, I believe, The Life of Pablo came on, and everyone just went crazy. And the song that he recognized we need to make out of that was I Ain't Got Time. So it's just that type of active listening
Right.
is very essential to all artists.
And being able to like see the crowd move.
Yeah, exactly,
actually.
right? And like think about how much like introspection you need just personally, not even take music out of the question, just personally to think, okay, in order to make a song that's going to make people dance, I'm going to go to a place that I don't like, a nightclub, sit in the very corner and just watch people for 3 hours.
It's scouting. It's just like
Yeah.
it's just like people do in like high school, other teams. The other coach, they'll go over and they'll be like, they'll be watching like say like the quarterback. They'll watch exactly how the quarterback steps down to the very like subtle like jump backs that he does. Or like the fake outs that he likes to do, or his body language, and they study that and bring it back to their players so that it's like, okay, we're reviewing this so that we could take this and multiply or amplify this and be better and know how to, build off of that. And it's not even necessarily that competitive, with Tyler, that he's like, I want to be better than them. He's just like, this is what I'm trying to cultivate for this particular, goal of mine. So he's like, I'm going to sit in this nightclub that I hate and watching all these people that I don't like drinking. He doesn't even drink, and just like in a completely different environment. Yeah, in a completely different environment. That's discipline. That's what I was getting to. Is like it takes a certain type of discipline to really do stuff for your art.
Yeah, and I'm honestly inspired by him so much because he's produced his albums and
every single song except one.
Yeah, he's like done what he wanted his whole career, and like I think a lot of artists that like have idolized Kanye or like followed Kanye change. That's one thing that I've noticed when they make music. They change drastically as Kanye has changed drastically as well. But his progression has been so cool, and like I understand like what he wants to do next. Like, he's talked about it. Like I understand like that vision. Like that's why he had to say this last one was produced by me. No, like this is amazing. Please, please let me do other things that I want to do.
If you really think about it like that makes so much sense.
Yeah, that's
2 points on that.
Yeah,
because you mentioned how followers of Kanye always change from like album to album drastically.
They progress as artists. Like they're willing to do that. They're open. Like he was.
Like Tyler, Kid Cudi, Chance the Rapper.
Yeah.
Who was just a protege of Kanye? That.
I don't know if we can really count Pusha T, but like,
you see that,
a lot.
Yeah, Pusha T as well.
Yeah.
So you could say people who not come up under him, but people who just exchange with him, I should say. So there's a lot of people who like look to Kanye for advice on music, and they hate his guts as a person, but they're like, this man is like an artistic genius. So even people who don't agree with what he has going on, they're like, yo, I need to get in there. I need to get in the studio with him, or like spend some extended amount of time and find out how to roll out these, this project cohesively, and like how to make people respond to it well.
Yeah, I think once you work with him, like you understand more of how to get like the best of yourself out of yourself as well. And
you lose a little bit of your soul, but you
make it a little crazy as well. But at the same time, yeah.
Every genius is a little bit crazy.
Yeah,
I think, most definitely.
A lot.
But on the second point, when you mentioned that Tyler's like doing a world tour right now, bragging about how he produced his entire album, I thought about that when you said it, because he never did this before with his other albums. So, what do you think is the reason of that? Do you think like it's because he wants to like go on other ventures, like start doing films?
I'm pretty sure it's in the Funk Flex interview that he did. But that's exactly what he said. He wants to like score films and like be allowed to do music in other formats. And so like he was like, I had to put it on there just to let people know like, no, this isn't me. Like having that writing credit makes a difference on there. Yeah. So like, and honestly, what he did on Igor, it sounded so much like Kanye sampling to me. But
he even samples one of Kanye's samples from Yeezus in the song. So really it's just like, wow.
But I mean that he took his friends' recordings and used their vocals, and like Charlie Wilson, Frank Ocean, Solange, he used all their voices in different ways. Like it didn't just sound like a vocal, and then sometimes chopped it up or whatever the case was. And so he used like his recordings as samples to like make those music. It felt like I don't know if that made sense, but
no, I understand what you're saying.
So
yeah,
like, that's what like it felt like to me a lot. And like Yeah, just the whole thing was just very cinematic.
It's
And
interesting because he even goes on record as saying he does not like sampling because he doesn't think he's good at it. Yet he uses one of the most debatably infamous samples of all time, Ponderosa Twins Plus One, Bound, which is from Bound 2 in Yeezus, and then puts it in A Boy's Gun and flips it in a way that's like, I don't know. I would describe that song, the entire album, as like the feeling you have after a breakup where you're still in love with the person, but you know you're not going to get back with them. That's the feeling of that. Yeah, that's the face I get when I think about that. Yeah, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like seeing what you're saying, but well, I guess just being a Tyler fan, it's kind of like he's perpetually like in that mood. He's always like kind of like somber and like melancholy, like undertone. Like even like when he's joking and laughing and stuff, he's always like, "Yeah, life sucks." Like, you know what I mean? Like that's just
Yeah,
Tyler.
that's true.
And
That's
so it's
true.
like I see it as like a continuum of like just a rollout of his life as he's trying to figure out his 20s, obviously. And so like maybe it was a big undertone. I didn't think of that, like, you know, like a big undertone of like heartbreak, but like I just feel like he's always kind of in that mode.
Yeah, and I feel like essentially he's been the same person, but he only shows like part of himself as time goes. Well, he's more honest with himself now, from what we all probably know. But like, I saw an interview of him during like the Goblin era, and someone was interviewing him, and they were saying, "Oh, you have a girlfriend?" He's like, "No, I'm in the White Boys," and then everyone laughs. But
it's true.
Here we are today in 2019. You know, 8 years later, it's true. Yeah, he was not joking around.
I think it to describe him is just like he's just an artist, and so like not just an artist, you know, like not to marginalize him, but every era of every album, every project is literally, you know, an era of like him. Obviously, that's an artist, and to be able to convey that so well and be like, this is what I'm going through, or this is like my mind frame, actually, you know, like at this point in time, and then to see it roll out into the next project and say, oh man, this dude has grown. You know, you could tell he's learning from his mistakes. You could tell he's being more comfortable with himself. Like, you know, that's like hella dope, and that's something more artists, like, I wish they would do, because, you know, a lot of artists try to do that. They try to, like, become, like, or show, like, okay, yeah, I'm evolving, but it ends up sounding the same. Or it's so much different that it's just not cohesive, and you can't see the transition. It's just, like, a big jump. So he does it so, like, effortlessly, though, like, you know, pulling through all his phases.
I think, like, for me, initially, it was hard to accept Chance the Rapper's progression. But as I heard him talk about it, it like opened my eyes, and then I was able to relate to the music.
When you say progression, you mean from like
10-day acid rap coloring book.
The Big Day?
The Big Day, yeah.
What did you think of The Big Day? Because it didn't get its, you know, reception.
Yeah, like, I understand that because, yeah, there are parts of it that I'm not going to relate with exactly right now because I don't share those experiences.
That's exactly what one of my friends said.
Yeah.
Sam, shout out to you. But she said that the content of the album is all experiences that little of the audience has experienced yet, like marriage, having a kid, you know, life in your 30s, when most of the audiences are, you know, teenagers and 20s.
But
they haven't experienced. Yeah,
sorry, but the sonics of the whole album do fit like that demographic.
Yeah, right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So like that was cool. But sorry, go ahead. I cut you off.
No. That was, you pretty much summed it up. Like it just ended.
Wrap it up.
It's just like I listened to it like front to back not too long ago, maybe about a week ago, and it's just like
That's good.
I don't know why I hate on this so much. Now I see why. Like he's not doing acid anymore. We can't expect
exactly.
another acid rap.
I would love one.
We would all love one. We would all love one.
He's just not really.
He's
on
He's a
acid
dad.
anymore.
He's a husband. He's a family man. We're not going to expect him to be dropping acid.
Can
you
we
know,
get 3 days?
Casually.
just
Like, yeah, no,
3 days.
3 days. Just a weekend.
It's a weekend.
Just a cool weekend.
Well,
3-day
what about
weekend.
some Kanye?
Yeah, but it's like it goes back to just again Kanye. I hate bringing him back in again. He's one of my favorite artists. But
he's awesome.
Yeah,
you can't deny the music. When
separate artists
from the art.
I hate that. I'm sorry.
So does that mean if we separate the artist from the art, does that mean you could still listen to like a Bill Cosby like comedy special?
I have a very specific opinion on that.
Okay.
So specifically, to answer your question,
Yeah.
me personally,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
No. I'm not going to judge what anyone else does.
Mm.
Okay. But it matters how the art benefits them to this day. Okay. So I believe anyone in their right mind, if they liked R. Kelly's music, should listen to it all they want. You know why? He doesn't own any of the masters to his music.
Okay.
So he's not getting a dime for it. If he was, I wouldn't listen to it because I'd be benefiting and putting towards craft
Most
to
definitely.
essentially make him do something even more worse than the next time.
He's in jail now.
He's in jail.
Love
So,
that for Robert.
If you're
That's different.
listen
That's
to R.
different.
Kelly all you want, I don't care. Okay. Bill Cosby's in jail too, so the same thing applies. He's probably not gonna live that long yet anyway. So
Jeez.
I would like being honest, right? Like honestly, do whatever you want because like it's whatever.
Yeah.
But if you take those that criteria to a person who's getting benefit off that, hate to say it, Chris Brown.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like, it's not even that good anymore. Like as old Chris Brown, but like old Chris Brown was good. Chris Brown
Slaps.
It was good.
It slaps.
And I like to think about that time and think he wasn't the person who I despised when he made this, but at the end of the day, it's still Chris Brown. I can't support that.
So like that begs me to ask the question, like,
Yeah.
you do something once and that makes you who you are for the rest of your life, or do we allow people to like?
Who did something once?
Yeah, that's or
Yeah.
okay. In my own life, like, yeah, like, do you forgive people that are close to you that like have harmed you in a certain way multiple times?
See, that's the question because there's no black or white answer to this.
That's very
I think
true.
everybody is this is like how religion is. Like you pick and choose like what you stand firm in. You know what I mean? So like even for me, like I'm like with Chris Brown and everything, like I'm just like, oh my God, he's so talented as a dancer, because I'm rooting in like dancing first and like in kind of music second. But like I'm like, yo, like this man embodies like, longevity, like consistent like art, his own ideas and everything. But it's just like, how do you support someone who is literally the epitome of everything I'm against? Abusing women, like gaslighting women. You know what I mean? Like consistently like just very aggressive and vulgar in a way that's not like towards the art, but just like as a person, like just destructive of like things that I stand for. Do I like say like, okay, well this is his art, so his music, because I still have I have music like current like indigo songs in my playlist, you know what I mean? And like you were saying, like it's not that good, and I'm like, some of it I don't know, they're kind of slapping, but it's just like
Indigo,
in my
the
head.
title track. I like that song. Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
it's like how do you separate? It's a judgment call on yourself, and that's one thing I worry about as like as you get bigger, or like if when I get bigger, like how many things, like what am I going to be attacked for? Because small things that I'm like I give a pass in my daily life because I'm like there's nobody like, hey, that's bad, you listening to that, you're bad, you know what I mean? But like if I blow up or if I get famous, they're gonna be like, cancel me too. Oh, you with Chris Brown, cancel that. Like you like that, cancel that.
I don't know. For myself, I had a conversation with a friend recently, and I had to explain to her like I was weary about working with an artist because he's like Hispanic, but he says the N-word a lot, and so like I was like, hey man, like if you want to like work together, like I'm just gonna have to ask you like not to do that. And he was like, why? Like I say it like my children are black because my big mama's black, like. And I was like, he was like, that's just how I was raised, like what I've been saying. And I was like, I understand that, but like, when you're getting on a mic, like you have to understand that like I would be promoting you saying that, and like I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's a non-verbal endorsement.
Exactly.
Saying, I like this song.
Yeah, and she didn't have perspective on that. She didn't understand that like that would be me co-signing like that, and so like that's not something like I'd be willing to do. Like, yeah,
it's interesting, and more so on that subject, it's not even necessarily that if you blow up, it's from that point forward, everything into the future, that's what your public record is. It's everything you've done
Prior.
since you were born. So if someone goes back into, let's say, your early childhood, you do something, you steal a cookie out of a cookie jar, now you're canceled. Now you're going to
That
jail.
girl steals cookies. Yeah, like, don't trust her around your cookies.
Yeah, but I think, naturally on like the Chris Brown topic, you can't put all people who have been accused of, similar things, like in the same category. For example, like X, for example. People still, this is my opinion. People still, say he deserved to die. And that's what you're doing in that sense is that you're comparing, you're saying an eye for an eye when in reality it's not an eye for an eye, it's eye for you get shot, and at that point you have to balance, okay, was this person still living that life up to the point of his death? Or has he acted and moved differently since then? And that's where you have to observe. If Chris Brown died tomorrow, I don't think we could say, "Oh, he's trying to do it for the better," but he's dead now. No, he's still an asshole.
Interesting. I haven't heard it.
What was different? What was different from you saying that about X and about Chris Brown?
Okay, so after the incident with X,
yeah. The initial, you're talking about the initial one where
yeah
okay,
yeah, so there wasn't any other instance of that out there. Chris Brown, he's a repeat offender,
right?
Yeah, but that doesn't still forgive what X did, but if you see how he moved, in the music industry with other people, he tried to stay away from that image.
I think I understand. I understand completely what you're saying. It's just still hard when it's like with people like with X. There was multiple accounts. It was that big time that was like everybody was like, yo, now that's not okay. You know what I mean? But it was like multiple instances of like abuse and like mental, physical, and different things. But what it is to say is like, yeah, I believe he wanted to be a good person. I wholeheartedly believe he wanted to be a good person. He wanted to, influence kids. You can see it. He did a lot of work, but it's like a lot of the time your good doesn't outweigh your bad, and it's up to who sees that. And artistically, beautiful music. To when I found out what that big incident, when I found out, I was heartbroken because he had I had listened to him up until like till that very instance of like going hard for him, like this stuff is so hard, he's so vulgar, like this is just very brutally honest music, like, and it did a lot for me emotionally. And then that is very counterproductive when I had to like make a judgment call and cut that off, because it was hard. And especially, it's weird to say, when he died, it affected me. Even after me being like, oh, he's a shitty person, you know what I mean? Like, he's not a good person. It affected me because of a period in time, his art touched me in a way. And I think that's like big. That's a big thing to consider with artists, is like still going back to R. Kelly and Chris Brown. In a moment in time, their art can touch people and they could do so much positive things. And so that's what's hard, is separating the artist from art and being like, their art moved literally mountains, like, for people, moved nations. And then, but they were inside, what corrupted their whole image, what really made them, you know what I mean? Like, what's the legacy? That's what I'm trying to get at. Is like, what legacy are they allowed to have? Are they allowed to be like this heroes, or are they like everything erased from their incidents?
So like, that's what I think with like Chris Brown, kind of like, I haven't heard of him do anything bad recently. Like, I've only seen good stuff. Like, he's touring and still dancing and like has his daughter and stuff. Like, he's just like trying to make his money. And like, it seems like, I agree that it seems like he's trying to like actually let people know, like, hey, like, I am trying to be a better person, which I guess like some people would say is fake, but at the same time, like if you don't let people know what you're doing, or if you don't put it out there actually, like, hey, like these are the stats, these are the numbers, like I haven't done anything.
I'm doing good guy
Exactly,
stuff.
yeah. Like people just forget. Like people will resort to what they remember or recall or what was most famous.
Well, yeah. So like essentially, what you're most famous for is your lowest common denominator moment.
Yeah.
If
Sucks.
if the depth of your low isn't as good as the high as your high.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Bruno Mars has had so many highs. So
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
chilling,
He's just like-
He's
I don't think
never-
done
yeah.
anything like that.
He's like the most
Bad.
clean
People-
person.
Exactly.
People have seen his downfall, and they're like, "That's not that bad."
This is a
Have you
bop,
heard
though.
24 karat?
I see on the floor. Yeah,
like, man.
exactly. So like,
R&B.
I don't know. That's weird. And even like Robert Downey Jr. Like,
Mm.
Yeah,
Iron Man
not
was
a lot
fine.
of people know. Not a lot of people know the history behind, Iron Man
Yeah.
and like who he was before,
Yeah,
he became the Iron Man.
exactly. And there's like a whole generation of kids that like idolize like his face, like that cartoon,
like-
and like, yeah, that's
Like,
crazy.
If only you knew what he was into.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
like, they forgave me.
Yeah.
Those movies are
Forgave
fire.
him.
Those
Yeah.
movies are great.
Yeah, but
I just think of all the bad shit that I do, and like say, like I really say things freely and like with no remorse, and then I'm like, yo, if somebody hears me right now, like this is wild, or like
I think
somebody would be really upset. And I think that, that's a lot of people who say stuff in the comfort of their own home, just like freely, but I say it in public, you know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
I say it on Twitter, and I say whatever I want, and it's like that one thing about me, that's what I pride myself on, is that I'm gonna say what I want when I want. But as like an artist, it sucks as like social media is like a huge downfall of most artists now, and that's something that like wasn't before. Like people used to do like literally like hard drugs like back in like the 60s and stuff. Nobody would know, and they would keep touring and
Right.
doing what they want,
Doing
popping up, taking pictures for the shows, being on interviews. No one would know. But now people can see where you're going, who you were with, what kind of like literally what kind of drugs you was doing, like, you know what I mean, like
I
that
think-
kind of stuff is scary.
I think what like your circle, like who you have around you, really does matter. Because like I don't know anything about J. Cole's life. Like he had to
That's
tell me that he started
phenomenal.
smoking weed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like he had to
right.
say that in
Phenomenal.
songs, right? And then like there's that video of Kawhi Leonard where he was like, "What it do, baby?"
Yeah.
And
his hands were below. Like, dude,
He's
we
got-
all know what you're doing.
Exactly. He's got a
Like,
homie though.
Yeah.
He's
got
from
a ho-
Mobile. We know what he's doing.
He's got a homie that like was willing to take that video and keep that privacy. You know what I'm saying? So he had like people in his circle that like are behind him actually. And so like yeah, there's always that. I don't know. You can find people to support that for sure.
What-
And like
Yeah, I would hate to have like, let's say this podcast does blow up. I would hate to have my personal information out there
yeah.
for everyone to know, and I would hate for everyone to think that I'm their friend.
Oh,
I mean,
Yeah.
see,
So
I
you
do
don't
the
wanna be-
opposite.
you don't
Really?
want to Joe Rogan level.
No.
Really?
Okay, I want to be Joe Rogan level to where I have the connection with people and we have a mutual agreement on, a business platform, and we could be more than just that. I don't want you calling them my house every single day, like,
Okay.
Oh,
let's
okay.
hang out. You know what I mean?
Okay, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I think like
I don't think anybody really wants that.
Joe
that
Rogan
kind
is
of
so
connectivity.
Joe Rogan's so cool because I think one of the things I realized in life is getting to know people or like hearing someone else's like thoughts and ideas is just one of the coolest experiences.
It is.
Like it's just
It
one of
is.
the most fun things you can do. And so the
Yeah.
fact that like he is involved in so many worlds and like is willing to talk to so many people, like you just have like just a well of knowledge, like or the possibility to grab from a well of knowledge.
He
like,
has an almost
cool.
endless network. Because think about it. If he has a problem with something, he could just look up, who have had on the show.
Exactly.
Click.
Yeah.
There he goes.
And Jamie probably has them like
In
categorized,
a
mathematicians,
Rolodex.
physicists,
Yeah, like, come on, it's right
geneticists, yeah, all the stuff. Like, so cool. Yeah, it's really inspiring for sure.
It is. Very. So we got about 5 more minutes left. So in that time, what I would want to do is talk about the process of your music.
Okay.
So what do you have out right now?
I have a song called "Synthetic Bliss," I believe, out.
Mhm.
I have a song called yeah.
He's produced so much.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't have
This
too
man
much
never
out.
stops.
We on this one, but honestly, yeah, I haven't put too much music out. Creepers, I think, Love Addict is one. This
That
song on my
nice.
SoundCloud. It's just Zach Coston, ZACCOASTON.
Do you still have that
SoundCloud.
project you had a couple of months ago?
So I have all that music, but I just like mastered it very quickly myself, and that just didn't work out very well. So like, I just took it all down just because I really hated listening to it, and like I wanted music that I appreciated out and was confident in, and so I'm at a point now where like I'm willing to start selling beats. It's just setting up the Airbit and stuff like that. We're just choosing which website, and my process in making music is just start like I just try to catch a feeling, like put whatever I'm feeling, or if sometimes I have a goal in mind of what I want to do, and so I just want to like create feelings from other music that I've experienced in the genre, let's say, and make it my own and put my own spice, twang on it. And so,
Twang.
twang, sauce. So that's mainly the thought. And I recently got like into sampling like actual other songs because there's just a bunch of CDs in my house. My parents were like really, really into CDs, and so I learned how to like take CDs and put them into a WAV file and put them into my DAW. And so doing that, like I just flipped like an Aaliyah song and I showed it to her, and she was just like, she was geeking over it. So like
really
that felt like
was.
really good.
I'm like, I want to rap over this right now.
There was a point where I just felt like I couldn't do things, or like I wasn't willing to put in the mental effort to manipulate the music to make it sound exactly how I wanted it to. And that's like a big thing. The difference between like just like when you're playing the trumpet, like you have to hear the note, what you want to play, or what note you want to play before it comes out. And so it's the same thing with like producing. Like you can hear how you want the sample to go, and you have to figure out how to actually make it sound like that. Yeah, on the DAW.
That's interesting.
It's been a good journey doing that for sure.
Yeah, that's great. So we're going to take one more quick break, and I think I want to have you on for a little bit more, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Great. We're going to take one more quick break, and we'll get back to the rest of the programming.
for sure. Am I able to go see?
Welcome back, everyone. We are 22S Radio, the next wave of K-Beach. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM, KKJZ, HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back, everyone. I am your host, Talking with Spencer, back again with another great episode of Talking with Spencer program. Here are my guests, Zach, Lexi. How are you guys?
Solid.
Yeah, so what were we talking about before the break?
I honestly don't recall.
We were talking about canceled. Like, niggas getting canceled.
Oh,
shit, right?
yeah. How,
Yeah.
like, my irrational fear of getting canceled.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's all I think about.
Isn't it really irrational, though?
Do
you think so?
I think
Yes.
getting canceled is only on social media. Like, depending on what you did.
Okay.
If it's something legal, then getting canceled is for sure like a thing. Especially if you go to jail, that's for sure getting canceled.
Yeah, like you get canceled just because you like getting taken out of it. I don't think people really follow through. Like people are like, oh, Kanye's canceled because he doesn't care about black people. People still fucking love Kanye. You know what I mean? And like,
I'm gonna listen to his next album.
yeah, like you know what I mean? Like, and who else? Like, who else is supposed to be? Chris Brown's been supposed to get canceled. Like,
Gucci?
like every year, Gucci.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cancel culture is just on social media for sure. And like Dave Chappelle's still like
But
doing
should it
shows. Louis C.K. I'm pretty sure is gonna be doing shows.
That's a good question. I think it depends on, well, again, what's the nature of the crime?
Right.
If it should be on social
Said
media
crime,
or in the real world,
Right.
as we all live in.
Like, if you're getting canceled and like you're losing your job, like that, I mean, it depends on like what the company's trying to do, or like like I guess like so like I know there was a case where like a comedian like I was on a podcast and like said like an Asian slur or something like that, and like he got kicked off of SNL.
Oh, for
yeah.
sure, yeah.
Okay,
So it's
but
like,
for
That's
that
not cool.
that specific situation,
it's
like,
because of SNL's history. And,
yeah,
like,
right,
all that stuff. So
and
it's
like that's they don't want someone on that show who would, and that podcast was recorded like a year before, so it's not like it was obscure from like a dark, cloudy room in 2002 or something. No, it was a year before.
Yeah.
So
Like you're really not that different from like you know what I
right?
mean? Like
unless
what,
you had
what
some,
you're
like,
representing right
some
now.
odd epiphany, like the next day or something.
That's a good point.
But yeah, I could see why someone would have issue with the principle of because it gives right for anyone to fire someone when they say something they don't like, from years ago. But at the same time, it's too recent,
Yeah,
in my opinion, for them to not take it into consideration.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it was the same season they first had a Asian American.
Yeah, just this season. Now.
Yeah, just this season.
Yeah.
So
Most definitely.
yeah, they had all the reasons.
Yeah, they was
Yeah.
not letting niggas get no passes.
Yeah, like,
They
yeah.
was like, bro, you out. Get out of here.
It was like his second. Imagine your second day of work at SNL. And you're like, oh shit, this is happening to me. Fuck.
Like,
Just imagine.
This guy's gonna be making fun of me and just being disrespectful.
How many calls like?
With that being said, yeah. So I think it's kind of crazy that that's the kind of a thing.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I guess cancel culture depending on like if you work for yourself or not. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like as
exactly.
an independent artist, like you can definitely like still tour and
Yeah.
still do that stuff. Like
Yeah.
depending on who's willing to work with you.
Exactly. So
And if you wait long enough, sometimes it dies out, and then you're just like, hey guys, you resurface in like
Hopefully you
a
invest
couple,
in
like
something
a
else.
month or so, and like
yeah.
do what you do.
Okay. So yeah. So I think that's going to conclude it for today.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, man.
Yeah. Anytime, man.
Thanks for letting me
Yeah.
talk, guys.
Yeah, that's why you're here.
I waited the whole first time. I
Yes.
was like,
Hopefully next time you'll be the main guest of the show.
I mean,
Mm.
I'd love to come back. You know.
All right. So with that being said, thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you all next week. Okay.
It was fun.